we actually had a really interesting conversation that was actually about work.
Yes, we had to. We was locked in a room together for 8 hours.
And a conversation that we had, I thought, was worth expanding on, about how AI models like ChatGPT learn and where they're getting their information from, and then how that then has a future impact on internet information that we're receiving.
Should we start with the context around why I brought it up?
Yeah.
So I'd recently watched a video from a very trusted research channel on YouTube that I enjoy watching. I guess we can put the source down in the comments below. But it was talking about the reliability of, in particular, I think it was mostly the research was done on ChatGPT, but it can be generalized across most models. But it was talking about how they did some fact checking. They asked it to generate responses, and then they had experts basically go through all of the facts and the sources required within those responses and try to match them up to, is there a real world piece of information that's already been published that can actually verify that what ChatGPT has said is factually accurate? And what they found is, after they checked like thousands of responses, around about 20% of the time, so 1 in 5 facts that it generates,
Facts, inverted commas.
Facts. They couldn't connect it to any form of a verifiable published article or piece of information or video or something as a source. So it indicates, and everybody knows that AIs hallucinate, as we call it. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. So if 1 in 5 pieces of information that it's hallucinated is basically just total BS made up, it causes some question around, how we are using it professionally, right?
I think part of what you were saying was that people are using AI to generate content to then put on the web. There's always been trust issues around the internet anyway. And then we've got AI coming along, which, as you've said, 20% of the information that it's giving out is a complete fabrication, never mind stuff that it's found on the internet that it may well have misquoted, or there's a serious issue here around the information that we're getting out of AI models.
Yeah, and I think a big part of the thought piece around this was, even looking at the 80%, you're finding more and more that the verifiable sources have also used language models in the creation of them anyway. So it may have found, a news site that's talking about a fact that may well have already used ChatGPT to generate it. So again, now 20% of that is also probably unreliable. And we know, even totally disregarded AI, already it was pretty difficult to verify information on the internet anyway, because it's still, information passed, not necessarily cited, particularly within, press sites and stuff like that. So, yeah, it definitely causes some issues.
Because
from our point of view.
I think it was our last podcast where you were having a conversation with Chris. We were talking about how, you'd always hoped that that there was such a thing as journalistic integrity, and that if you were obviously before the days of the internet, if you were reading something in a newspaper, you had an element of trust that the journalist writing that piece had actually been able to verify the information that they were publishing. Then obviously the internet comes along, and you know, people are then pulling information off the internet that they're assuming was correct in the first place. But I think also there is an element of there is so, particularly now, so much content on the internet. How realistic is it for all of that information to have been fact checked and verified? And that's before we even start considering bringing AI into that conversation.
It's like a tsunami coming.
A cesspit tsunami.
It is.
But then I think the other point that you raised during our conversation, and depending on which model you're using, depends on how far back that is looking for information. So
The
I believe
training on the data set.
So I believe ChatGPT 4 is looking back at like 2004.
It's already out of date, and then trained off of various years of data,
So when, you know, if we look at when people started using ChatGPT to generate content for websites or news articles, you know, 2020, we're nearly through 2025 now. 2026, 2027, if ChatGPT is looking for information off the internet, is it actually just finding information that it created 2 years ago?
And I think that's the worry, isn't it, at the moment, which is right now the data set that it has, although questionable, because I'm going to go into that in a second, it was at least human generated information, which yes is questionable. But the problem is, if we look forward now 3 years down the line, as they continue to retrain these models, but they're opening up that training data set to have these new generated articles, which I'll talk about again further, but we know that it's going to be starting to be trained off of data that's 20% factually just completely wrong. So yeah, there's some questions going around, you know, does a copy of a copy of a copy get worse and worse and worse over time? I.e. the old photocopier just gets muddier and muddier and, you know.
Good analogy.
Yeah.
I'll give you that one.
There's very, very clever engineers at Google who are saying, oh yeah, it's not really a worry. But I'll believe that when the current data models just literally stop making stuff up, because it's, I'm a little bit skeptic that they can even control that. Because I think Sam Altman, who is already he's obviously the ChatGPT head honcho, he said, yeah, you're just going to have to live with these hallucinations. They're part of what it does, which is a PR spin. But, you know, are we ready to live with somebody who's just wrong? If you and I are having a conversation and just every time 1 in the 5 things that I say is just complete nonsense.
Well, 1 in 5. I mean, that's generous.
Sounds accurate, actually, to be fair.
I'd go probably more close to 50%. But this whole idea of Sam Altman saying, okay, well, 20% of it is rubbish, but you've just got to live with that. If we turned around...
By my ChatGPT. Best salesman in the world, by the way.
if we turned around to one of our clients and said, oh, by the way, use our service, but about 20% of it's going to be complete rubbish.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm creating social media content for a client. Oh, by the way, 1 in 5 of the posts that I'm going to create for you is going to be terrible. Yeah. And, you know, going into Currys to buy a washing machine that's only going to work.
You've got to pick 1 out of 5.
Yeah, but it's only going to work. It's only going to work 80% of the time.
Yeah, well, every Monday. Just
yeah, you can't use it on a Monday. That's a bizarre concept.
Yeah, I also really enjoy the period, maybe around about a year ago, when we'll talk about SEO, having, you know, AI summaries coming onto search results. I really enjoyed how a lot of the training data that it used was from Reddit, which was obviously a bit of a Wild West forum really old posts, I did really enjoy how every so often an answer would come up and it would just be like, Mr. Killer Slasher 79 says, you know, oh, I do this thing, and it's just like absolute nonsense. So it does beg to question, you know. I know they say that they've stopped. They did say they've stopped trying to train it off of Reddit data recently because it's so like just absolute nonsense as well. But already like the beginning data sets that they've used are just it's just chaos. It's just controlled chaos at the moment. But then if you even think about the more I would say academic information that it's got accessible to, just coming back to this initial video that I was chatting about, they found a rise in what you would call kind of like AI-driven language, because you know everyone knows the old in the ever-changing landscape of blah de blah. It's not as overt as that, but particular words AIs tend to use that humans wouldn't naturally, and they found a rise in the use of those words within academic papers. So it's kind of proving that researchers out there, now they may not necessarily be using AI to completely generate these research papers and feeding it that information, but they may be using it to summarize, grammar check, all this kind of stuff. So it's seeping into there. I saw also recently they did this study as well around our politics. So they noted that MPs in the House of Commons, when they're doing their speeches, again, particular words that AI models are using would start to pop up in these people's speeches. So it is seeping into our everyday decision makers, researchers, people who you would kind of hoping wouldn't be using a source that's 20% wrong. But do they know? You know, are people influencing the policy that they're putting forward within our politics? Are people influencing, you know, these research papers? It's, begs the question.
Yeah, that's incredibly worrying because, again, you know, I think with everything, we need to be able to be in a position where we can trust certain things. And, you know, I was kind of looking at it as somebody who uses the internet and wanting to be able to trust what I'm getting from the internet. But if you're then saying that that's then seeping outside of the internet into all of this stuff, then that becomes even more problematic. I mean, you know, we have to question how much we could trust our politicians in the first place.
Maybe I do trust ChatGPT to run the country a little bit more effectively.
These are our personal opinions, not the opinions of iWeb as a whole, right?
No, let's
just get that caveat in.
We stay away from politics on the podcast.
Yes, yeah, and I think that's wise. But I mean, the thing is as well. You mentioned Google's AI summary thing, which I have to admit I use. I think it does come in really handy when you've got like a lot of websites to search through and what have you. It does come in handy. This very much sounds like we're really bashing AI.
Fear-mongering a bit.
Yeah. And I think, you know, this is more of a cautionary tale than it is down with AI, get the placards out. I think it's fair to say neither of us are against AI or against using it thoughtfully, and that's the thing, right? But to go back to the point that I was just making, I really like the AI summary that you get with Google now. You know, when you're looking for information quickly, that's really helpful. However, depending on what it is you are looking for, there is still an onus on us as human beings to check where that AI information is coming from. And I think it's this, you know, that's using that on a everyday basis, but it is also the same with when we're using it with work, because we do use AI around the office, not to do our jobs for us, but to support the jobs that we're doing, help us streamline certain processes and stuff like that. But we still make sure that we're checking that information that it's giving us. I mean, for example, I think I gave you the example of when I was writing a blog about the timber trade through the Humber Estuary, because that's where we're based. And I have a little bit of background knowledge about imports and exports through a previous job. But I was looking to write this article specifically about the timber trade. And I was looking at how much timber actually comes into the Humber ports. And the figure that it gave me, I was like,
Confidently wrong.
that doesn't sound right to me. So I clicked on the citation link that ChatGPT had actually given me. So it was saying this is where I've got the information from. I clicked on that link and it was talking about the amount of timber that comes into the Fife ports based in Scotland. It literally gave me a completely incorrect piece of information.
You're not checking it.
And I fortunately had a little bit of background knowledge to know that that figure wasn't quite right. But if I didn't have that knowledge, I could potentially go, oh, right, okay, there's 200 tons of timber that comes into the Humber ports, and just gone with that.
Yeah, I think it's a shame because I think Googling something really is a skill and is a bit of a lost skill these days. For a couple of reasons. The first one is that SEO people, myself included, ruined the internet.
Oh, it's you.
It is. But I think it really was. It was a skill because there's a couple of things that went into it. Which is, first off, as a searcher, you would need to be good at constructing a query that actually brought back stuff that was relevant. Which AI is something that helps with that now. But then also you had to be good.
Assuming you've got your prompt right.
Yes. But you also had to be good at skimming pages and recognising which ones were trusted versus relevant versus irrelevant. So, getting the answer to a question would involve checking, naturally, 4 or 5 sources. The reason I say SEO has ruined the internet is because, we come along and we go, okay, let's figure out what people are searching in, generate a load of content, bang it on there, done. All of a sudden now, because of SEO, instead of contending with 4 sources, you're contending with 30 people who've created blog articles that, there's a lot more information as a searcher that you have to check now, which is, I think, on one hand, why I think, and I do use Gemini, I use the AI built into Google, because I think what it does really well is it does that job for you. It goes and has a look at 10, 20, 30, 40 websites in a split second, and it goes, that's relevant, that's not relevant, that's relevant, this paragraph is, that one isn't, pulls it through, and I can read through its response. Now, I've started clicking on those actual links that it brings through and checking, and again, unfortunately, a few times I've read something and gone, nah, that was like your ports case, I've gone, it's relevant, but it's not right. It's just not right. It's not right for what I'm looking for. So one thing which it does is it does get rid of a lot of the irrelevant stuff. But bringing it again back to SEO's ruining the internet, which we're continuing to do, is there's a big movement within the SEO industry right now, which is, instead of it being search engine optimization, it's GEO, which is generative AI optimization. So people are thinking about, okay, what are the types of queries that people are using this kind of search behavior along these lines for, and generating a bunch of articles to answer those queries in the hope that then you will be that reference for these questions. And this kind of brings back to my original point, which is the problem is now, if people are generating masses and masses and masses amount of content for particular queries and bulking that out, hugely, if that content that is generated can't be trusted, the AI doesn't know that, and it's bringing that through as a source now. So yes, 20% of the stuff it doesn't even have a source for. Yeah, that's a huge problem. But, and again, SEOs are going to do it. They're going to generate millions and millions of pages because they want to be pulled through for these queries, and now all of a sudden, humans can't sift through this information. It's too much, so we're going to rely on AIs to do it. But how much of this content, even though it's linked and there's pages and it might be, you know, press releases, whatever, it's going to require a bit of critical thinking from the person to actually match up a couple of sources and really, really fact check that what they're getting is correct.
I think what is really interesting here, and is kind of particularly for people like you and me, you know, you as an SEO expert, me as a copywriter, is our responsibility to ensure that there is as much human content.
You're just training an AI.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Yes. I'm an AI
What's
wrangler.
What's my function? I'm here to just train an AI.
I'm an AI wrangler. And a call out to other marketing agencies and copywriters to put as much human content out there as possible, because otherwise, you know, which I think is probably going to end up being the title of this podcast, we'll just end up with a situation where the internet is basically a case of the blind leading the blind, right?
Which is what, bringing it onto social media, LinkedIn is. I used to really enjoy, and I will say this, my feed has degraded in quality so much within the last couple of years. I followed so many great thought leaders within the SEO industry who were sharing case studies of what they're doing, talking about new techniques that they're using, and it's just hidden. And it's not through their fault. It's just they've been overwhelmed by people generating easy, quick responses. It's saturated, absolutely, with nonsense that doesn't help me, because it's people just regurgitating the same basic information that I could just go onto Google and ask, can I have the top 10 things I need to do when I'm doing SEO, please? Yeah, I've seen that all before. I want the people who are experts, who are doing new things. And that's the problem, which AI can't do. It can't create something new. It can't create that. It can't be that to me. And that's ruining social media.
This is essentially not a podcast anymore. This is our manifesto.
It sounds a bit negative again.
This is our manifesto to make social media and the internet a more honest human place.
Yeah. Make social media great again. We'll get hats. Oh no, wait, hold on. That's
no, don't do that. You're going into politics again. Because on an extension of what we've just been talking about, obviously within the last 2 weeks, ChatGPT released Atlas, which I've had a look at, and I'm not going to lie, I didn't find it a particularly enjoyable experience to use.
I think ChatGPT are probably learning how difficult it is to make a search engine right now.
Yeah. And that, I mean, bearing in mind, like I say, it's 2 weeks old at this point. It's still early doors, but at the moment, and I've looked at some articles about other people's point of view, and I have to agree, at the minute, I've not found it particularly useful. The responses in the sidebar, firstly, make the websites look clunky and terrible because it squashes in. But also, when I was asking it for information based on our website, the response it gave me was really long. And the information it gave me, I may as well have just read through the website anyway.
And seen the pretty pictures.
Absolutely. And, you know, seen pictures of you and me. Although maybe they would be better with a text option, I don't know. But then when I asked it some questions about our placement within the local area, it actually gave me some websites that aren't. It was just taking information from a website that actually wasn't live.
You think it was gone? It used to be.
Don't know.
Who knows?
But it's not there anymore. So where's it getting the information from? Which again suggests that it's just making stuff up. I mean, I have a suspicion that it was getting information just from the URL, based on the fact that there was a location, that the name of the business that it had brought up had Humber in the title. But that doesn't make that a valid
And that's what it
argument.
does. It fills
exactly.
in the
the gaps.
Yeah.
Where, you know, we know that's not a reliable way to bring up information. But interestingly, I did look in that apparently, I'm sure you know this, but 60% of web users use Chrome nowadays, and I think that ChatGPT Atlas is probably trying to battle Chrome. I mean, taking on Google is brave,
big fish.
But the other thing is, a lot of people were saying that even within the ChatGPT Atlas model, you only get a set number of queries before it will then direct you to a paid subscription. And are people going to do that when they're just web browsing? I don't think they are.
No.
I mean, at the minute, it doesn't have a mobile option, which most people, as we know, most people browse the internet on their phones. I would be very, very surprised if Atlas doesn't come up with a mobile app very, very soon.
Yeah, they're going to have to.
But at the same time, how many people are going to pay a subscription for internet browsing? They're not, are they?
It would be very tricky to do, which then means they're probably going to stick a bunch of ads in it, which then begs the question of how reliable, how reliable is the information going to be if it's just sticking an ad down your throat?
Well, absolutely.
I did want to bring up something which I think is really interesting that I'd not really reflected on before. I feel like with the rise of AI summaries within search engines, Atlas as a new search engine, what these are currently doing, look back 20 years ago. Do you remember Ask Jeeves?
Yes.
That's what I thought Ask Jeeves did. I would go on to Ask Jeeves.
Yes, but that was how they. That's how they positioned themselves.
We've gone full circle. And I would go on to Ask Jeeves, and I'm like, "Hi Jeeves, can you tell me, is the weather going to be nice next Tuesday?" And it would just bring back BBC Weather or whatever, forecast, and be like, "Oh, this is rubbish. This is not." But that was actually a great experience because I could go onto the website and it was right and it wasn't SEO'd to hell. But now you could type into ChatGPT, what's the weather going to be like next Tuesday? And we can almost spot check this now. I bet you'll just make up a load of rubbish. It would just, based off of, something I don't know about, I think it's definitely going to be thunderstorms. And it won't go check any information. Who knows?
And in fact, actually, that's the interesting thing about ChatGPT as well. It's always so bloody minded about the fact that it's right, unless
Ask Jeeves wasn't.
Unless you tell it it's wrong, and it goes, "Oh yes, you're absolutely right.
Yeah,
I was
wrong." I
just
made up a load of rubbish. which Ask Jeeves never did. He didn't. So,
oh dear, the days of Ask
bring
Jeeves.
him back. Bring him back.
Do you think that, because I have a theory that we are going to come a bit full circle and that we are going to come back to more human generated content. I do feel like, I'm not going to say that ChatGPT is a flash in the pan and it's going to disappear, which it might. We've seen so many things come and go.
Yeah, it's hard to know.
Technology-wise.
Now,
but I don't think that that's going to be the case. But I do think that particularly with AI imagery, I think that people are starting to notice more computer-generated content now. And I think people are already getting quite fed up of it. Because, at the end of the day, people want to be able to trust their sources. And the more computer-generated stuff we see, the quicker the trust level drops. And then if we then look at AI imagery, yes, there is, again, we're not completely against AI. I think that we need to make sure that we are balancing that point there. And there are some brilliant ways that we can use AI to assist and support. I think humans still crave human contact. It's part of our genetic makeup. We can't change that. We can't change who we intrinsically are as human beings. And I think that the more people see more and more computer-generated imagery, there's going to start to be a turn of the tide on that, and people are going to start saying, actually, I don't want computer-generated content. I want to be able to connect with human beings, and I want to be able to trust what those human beings are telling me.
Yeah.
And I feel like there is going to be
maybe
a renaissance.
Maybe in the short term. I think that's the $1 billion bet. The $1 billion bet is, can the companies that are doing these AIs, can they do it so well that we can't distinguish? Because if they can, then it works, you know. It doesn't matter whether it's an AI person in the video that we're watching or a human person, because we literally just won't be able to tell the difference. Whether it can get that good or not is what everything is kind of on the cusp of.
Yeah, and I think because
people think yes. People clearly, you know, there's a lot of investment on the answer of yes.
Absolutely,
but then there's fix some things.
There's morality and integrity in there as well. Do you know what I mean?
I don't think the tech oligarchs
No.
have any worry about
absolutely.
integrity or any of that. Ka-ching.
They're not sponsoring this podcast, by the way.
They're not
but no,
worried.
I mean from a viewer point of view, you know, as a viewer,
I think
you know, that morality there of do human beings want to support that going forward? Because there is, you know, there is such a thing as people power, and if people do turn around and say, I don't want this anymore, you know, for example, let's just say, you know, people have talked about movies being completely AI generated, and, you know, actors getting worried about whether they've got jobs going forward. I think there would be a push against that from viewing audiences wanting to see actual real human beings on the screen.
Yes, but also no. Yes, in an ideal world, yes. But I think when it comes down to it, people value ultimately convenience, easiness, and I think if, you know, from a consumer point of view, yes, you want actors paid and ones that you recognise within movies, just taking a movie for example. But if it gets to the point where we literally can't tell the difference, and you can now have your movie on demand instantly, and it's as good as it was before, people, I think, will go for it. Take, for example, Amazon. We know that Amazon is evil. It's causing huge issues. It's a huge supply chain that we have to deal with. It's closed down many, many local businesses that sell those products that could be that instead. But ultimately, people still use it because they can have something sent to them the next day. You know, morality-wise, you'd want people to be like, and I think people, you know, mentally are like, no, of course I would prefer to get my tack from the local shop, you know, whatever it is, an electronic plug. But ultimately, the convenience is too there.
But you see, I think that also plays into my argument a little bit, in that I think there's certain things that people will go to Amazon for the convenience, but then there are certain things that people might go to the high street for because they want the experience and they want to support a local business, for example. So I think that you can have a foot in both camps.
They exist,
yeah. So again, I think neither of us are saying that AI is gonna die off, but I think that there will be. I think we're very much in an exploratory phase now. Even though it's been around a few years, but it's still very, very early on. We have to find a way to coexist. But again, I think that there is a responsibility on people like you and I, and you know, our peers and colleagues within the marketing industry, to ensure that there is human, reliable content.
And fact checking. I think for me that's the
Absolutely.
the big thing that I
comes under
walked
that
away
umbrella.
from after that previous conversation and this one, which is it's a fantastic tool that helps us speed everything up and do everything we need it to do. But I need to keep in the back of my head that, hold on a minute, I still need to check it. I still need to check all of it thoroughly, because I can't be publishing something that is just incorrect.
Yeah.
And right now, where we currently are, it is. It might not be. In 4 years' time, 5 years' time, 10 years' time, who knows the future? But right now, yeah. Whether it's going to get worse or better, no one knows. But it's not going away.
No. I mean, that's a pretty good place to wrap up.
Yep.
And, you know, if anybody has got any opinions on this, whether you agree or disagree with Sean and I, then let us know in the comments. And
like and subscribe.
for our very human-based content.